Damn. Jayson Waller here, True Underdog. What's up, grinders? Welcome to another episode of the True Underdog podcast. Your host, Jayson Waller here. Today, we have an unbelievable guest. Man, this guy's got fired not once, not twice, even fired himself. He's a four-time New York Times best-selling author, over 20 years experience in the writing game. He is a co-founder of Scribe Media. He's helped over 1,700 authors go and write their book, including one of my favorites, David Coggin. So I was excited to interview my man here, Tucker. Max, how are you doing?
Excellent. Very good.
Good. Thanks for joining us today, and welcome to the podcast. As you may know, I'm working on a new book with Scribe as well. I'm still at the beginning stages. I'm super excited about your business, and I want to learn a little bit more about you. I guess you grew up in Lexington, Kentucky, and you were voted most egotistical person back in school, right?
In my high school,
Let's start there. No, really, you most egotistical?
I swear, like I actually had the yearbook. Like it's one of those things where people are like, that's not an actual superlative. I'm like, they made one up at my high school for me called most egotistical.
How big a school was this? Was this a 2A, a 3A, a 5A? What was it?
So, okay, I grew up in Kentucky, but then I actually left because my mom was not the best parent. Crazy really is the word I would use. And also Kentucky's a shithole. It's a terrible place. Like, bless its heart. It's just a terrible place. And so I wanted to go to school somewhere else. And so I ended up getting into Blair Academy, which is like, it's the best wrestling high school in the country. I don't wrestle, so that didn't matter to me. But it's now like one of the best high school basketball high schools at the time, which is funny. People here, I went and they're like, you play basketball there? And I'm like, I started. And they're like, oh, you must be good. And I'm like, sure. Now, I was there before they got amazing. Like,
how tall are you?
I'm 6 feet tall and white, dude. Come on.
Yeah,
and I'm
you're
not
playing
Nash.
basketball then. Yeah. I'm about to say, unless you're like 6'6" and I don't know anything, you weren't playing. But
no. I played there, but not like anywhere else. Yeah. But anyway, so I got in because I could play ball and I had a really good SAT score. And so, no, dude, it was like Kentucky was hellish. So that school was only 150, 200 per class. So being most egotistical wasn't that hard there. Although it was a bunch of rich kids. So it's not easy to be and I wasn't. So it's not easy to be the most egotistical around a bunch of rich kids. But
you're right, because a lot of rich kids, what you would think would flaunt their shit a little bit more, where you being the egotistical one doesn't make sense. But I got to talk to you a few minutes before we started this, and I can see that. And most successful people have to have somewhat of an ego. So obviously you carried that as
you got to have belief. A
Yeah.
lot of times it manifests as ego, and straight up, I'm 45 now, so I can see the change in myself. And it used to be compensation, and it was arrogance and compensation, and it was compensation for a lot of deep trauma and deep wounds. Right. I also I'm kind of a weird dude because I had a lot of ego and arrogance, but next to it, I did have a lot of skills and belief in my skills. And so, like, that's really, if I really look, the thing that carried me forward was my skills and my belief in my skills. Every now and then, when you're young, ego can help if it's irrational confidence in an area where you actually can succeed. Like, I was irrationally confident about my basketball abilities, but then I just wasn't good enough. So that's just the end, right? Yeah. But I was irrationally confident about 2 or 3 other things that I was actually pretty good at. And so it ended up being the thing that pushed me over, where, like, because you don't have imposter syndrome. I have to deal with that, right? Where a lot of other people do. And so that's where it helps. But then it's one of those things that what gets you up the mountain doesn't take you the rest of the way. And so at some point it starts to weigh you down and hold you back. And it did for me.
So you get out of high school. Did you go to college? Mm-hmm. Where'd you go to college at?
I went to the University of Chicago. I went to the hardest undergrad in the country, graduated in 3 years, and then as a white dude, got an academic scholarship to Duke Law School, to a top 10 law school.
Oh, so I lived in North Carolina for a long time, so I'm familiar with Duke. So you're a Grant Hill fan, I'm assuming.
No, because I grew up in Kentucky. I hate Duke.
Oh, there you go. Well, fair enough. You went to Duke, but you hate them because you grew up in Kentucky. Yes, that's fantastic. Yes. So, you came up with your first book in 2002, and after failing miserably, you decided to post your content online and ended up getting the attention of MTV. Explain that process, and what did that do to help pioneer of what you're doing now?
It was a kind of a small thing. It was one of those things where, so in 2002, you got to remember.
Internet was very slow back then. I remember.
There were only 30 million people on the internet. Yeah. Like, the internet was this weird thing that only creepy people in their basements were on, or young people at work. And so I actually didn't really even get a book deal. And so I just put all my stuff online for free. And so I ended up I hit the first wave, right? This is before MySpace even existed, 2002.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was blogging before the word blog existed. I was putting my stuff out for free, and I ended up generating this huge fan base because I was doing the same thing every dude in their 20s and a lot of women in their 20s do. I got drunk. I acted like an idiot. And the difference is I just wrote about it, honestly, with my own name, right?
What kind of things were you writing about? Because I did a little research here, and you had a lot of things going on with alcohol and
I mean, mainly
sexuality. What were you? Were you telling stories of picking up chicks and drinking? What were you doing?
What does everyone do in their 20s, right? Or most people. You go out with your friends, you get obnoxiously drunk, you do stupid shit, you hook up with somebody, and you have kind of ridiculous, crazy fun. Yeah. I mean, I did some crazy things, but it's funny. A lot of people who read my stuff thought, this is amazing. This guy does crazy stuff. And I'm like, I'm not even the craziest one of my friends. We're pretty normal. So I was just the first one who told these stories openly, honestly, with my own name. Like what most people would call college drinking stories. Although I went to the University of Chicago, which is a huge nerd school. And so we produced 70 Nobel Prize winners and I was the first person ever to come out of that school who was cool, right? At all. Awesome. And so, after that, then it kind of changed. But no, it was just drinking stories. That's it. Like the stories you tell your buddies.
Hey, it's almost 2:00. They're getting ready to close. So all the 9s and 10s will drop down left. The thing. Where's the 5s and 6s at? I'm in, right? We all know the story. Shit, it's 2. My quality's just gone down a little bit. I mean, that's what happens. We all know the deal. But you openly shared that, right? So, and we've all got stories. And that's the deal. So everyone relates. They get excited. And they're like, man, this is great. And it's because you talked about it at a young time when it was really, starting to be
new.
Cool.
It was brand new. No one was doing this.
It was almost like reality TV, but it was reality blogging.
It was. Yeah. It was. It was it really was, and it was before anyone else was doing it. Right? I'm the one who kind of set the trend on it. That's why my book sold so much. It's why so many people know who I am. It's not because what I did was that remarkable. It's just I was the first one, and I was the first one to stand up and to talk about a common experience that millions of people had that no one was talking about or writing about.
When you started to get that attention and the book started to take off, obviously it's a different dynamic than you just getting through college and then writing this book. And now you're getting this different kind of attention. A, how did you adjust to that attention and really look at it as an opportunity? And B, what kind of obstacles did you have to overcome? Because people always see the finished product that are just reading about you, getting to know you now, and they don't understand the journey and the map and the hills and the peaks and the valleys and the boulders you had to go through.
Well, you mentioned it earlier about how I got fired from every job I ever had. You didn't even mention the best part. My father fired me from the family business.
So you were saying the best part was your dad fired you when you were younger as well. Explain that.
So my dad fired me from the family business. Okay. Basically, people are always like, how could you be so narcissistic? I'm like, well, kind of look at my dad. To understand my dad, think of Donald Trump, but not in real estate, in restaurants, and with not quite as smart, but way more into fashion. That's my dad. Basically, right? And so didn't have quite as many wives. I think Trump's had 5. My dad's on 4. And my dad only had 1 kid and Trump had 6 or something. I don't know. But close enough, right? Yeah. In the same generation, same age. They're very, very similar. And so I got fired from the family business, not because I was bad at my job. I was great at my job. But because I thought all of the sycophants he had around him and the ass kissers were terrible because they were. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, we should fire these people and scale the company. Turns out my dad values their worship of him more than he values a big company. And so there was a lot of political infighting. And I thought, well, because I was right and my name was on the door, clearly my dad would pick me. I was wrong about that. Wow. That's not how it worked. And so I got fired. I was 25. I was a year out of law school, 6 months out of law school. And he fired me. And so then I started I had already been fired from a law firm 3 weeks in.
How'd you get fired from a law firm?
That was my own fault. That was me. Basically, long story short, the senior female partner in the firm propositioned me. Mm-hmm. And listen how dumb I was. This is amazing. I turned her down and then told everyone about it. I know, it's like, what are you doing? I still don't understand what I was thinking, because if I had slept with her, I'd have been bulletproof at the firm, and if I had shut the fuck up, I'd have been fine.
Jeez.
Right?
You seen
I
that?
had to
You
pick.
seen that movie Liar Liar where he keeps avoiding the female partner? That's what that reminds me of. You remember that? Jim Carrey's running from that, and he's like, shit. Then he ends up doing something. Dude,
I
that's
don't even know why I said no, because I've slept with people who are, or women who are way less attractive than her. Like, it's not like she was
you
ugly or
thought you were
anything.
being moral.
No,
No.
I didn't. The being moral was not a problem for me at that point in my life.
Well, just saying.
I really don't know.
Oh.
It was like I panicked, or maybe it was the right life choice for me in the long run, but I was not thinking that way at the time. So I actually don't understand why I said no, or why I talked about it. It was about the dumbest combination of things I could do, but I was 25 and very, very dumb.
Yes.
So
then what? There's a third time you fired yourself, right?
I did. That was different, though. See, that was totally different. That was this company, Scribe. We got to about a year and a half, and we'd done about 2.5 million in revenue. A year and a half old, and we got to about 9-10 people. And you're an entrepreneur, the wheels start coming off at 9 or 10. You need management, you need processes, or you need to start building that stuff, right? And I don't know how to do that. I know how to write books, and I know how to talk, and I know how to do like all these creative things, but like managing other people, what does that mean? Everyone should just do their job, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's my thought process. And so like, and my other co-founder is just like me, a pure entrepreneur, right? A pure creator. And we are not managers. We are not systematizers or process people or whatever. We just get shit done. And so like Javon was a client of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And I jokingly, I'm like, you got to teach me how to be a CEO, man. I'm not doing so well. And he looks at me, he's like, you serious? I'm like, yeah, if you got feedback. And so he started calling me after every interaction with Scribe, with my company. And he'd be like, say 3 nice things.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing good. And then he would give me the 20 things we screwed up. And he was always exactly right. None of it was mean. It was all gut punch level. Oh my God, he's so right. How did we do this wrong? And so eventually I'm like, dude, will you please just come run my company? And he was running a company way 10, 15, 20 times bigger than mine. And he was like, okay. Yeah, he's like, I love your product. I love hanging out with you guys, whatever. I'm kind of looking for my next thing, because he didn't found the company he was at. He was only the president.
Yeah.
And so it's so funny, man. He came in, he's like, you want me to be president? I'll be president COO. And I was like, that would be bullshit because you're going to run this company and I am not. And if I keep the title, then it's just ego.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And so I was like, no, man, I was about 40. It was about 5 years ago. I'm like, you need to have the title for the job you're going to do. And man, it's a really good thing I did that, because since then the jobs he's been offered would blow your mind. And he has not left. Because one, he loves the company and the mission and whatever, but he also knows, like, where's he ever going to find a place where the people love him and respect him and see him and acknowledge him? Anywhere else he would go would just be about money, because he's going to make more money elsewhere.
Yeah, I had the honor to interview Javon, and such a great story, inspirational dude, has his shit together A to Z, true entrepreneur. And one thing I want to touch on, Tucker, that you brought up that's important for listeners, podcasters, people who write books, entrepreneurs, anybody in sales, anybody in management to understand is when you have the knack to realize you can't do certain things, and you're smart enough to hire people around you that are smarter or better than you in certain ways of the business. And I talk about it all the time in my company. That's a very, very powerful visionary, someone who really has true vision for growth of what things they do. We all can't do everything. I didn't know what the fuck EBITDA was. No shit. 2 years ago, I had no fucking clue. I had zero clue. I'm used to running and gunning. Yes, but it's like a cash business. We pay our fucking taxes. We made 12 million one year, 18 million one year, 36 million. We have a CPA. That's it. I never understood EBITDA. We sold based on RMR, reoccurring revenue. Well, I get into the solar business year 1 and 2. We 3 million in sales, lose money, 14 million in sales, lose money. I'm like, fuck. The next year I switched to American made panels. We start blowing. We're on our pace to 40 million. I'm like, I've never been in these waters. We need to probably get cash or capital. So I bring somebody on, I interview somebody from a mutual friend, kind of like how you met Javon. You interviewed me like, dude, I like this dude. This guy was like, older than me, had more experience, had the gray hairs, was wise, totally understood what the fuck EBITDA was, could make us corporate professional. I'm not that guy. I'm a motivator. I go out and knock the doors down, get everyone to go out and take on everything. I can't even I've never even read a book, but I'm going to try to write one. So I bring him on. He brings on a real CFO. Like now I've got a team. I call us the Avengers, and we just keep adding people. And my goal is the vision and to be the face. But it sounds like you did the same thing. You recognize something. You said, shit, in order for this brand and this business to grow, I need to step up and put somebody that's healthier and better for this. And I could just be the vision and be in the background, let this guy run this ship. Am I right?
That's exactly what happened. Now, I wish I could take credit for being visionary about that. It was really a survival thing.
Okay.
Honestly, if we're being honest, I knew the company would not survive with me as CEO.
But still knowing that's important, because a lot of times people just quit or fail because of their ego, because they are scared to bring someone 100%. In over them, and you didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep, 100%. And even since then, man, like I owned 75% of the company the day he came on board. I own 37.5 now. And the reason is it's not like he forced his way in. I was like, look, man, you are just as important, if not more important. The more we grow, the more important he is and less important I am. Like I set the vision, created it, whatever. But now that's we've got a whole executive team. I'm not even in the executive meetings anymore, dude, because we have such a good team.
That's awesome.
And I set the foundation for them, but they now carry it forward. I would much rather have 37.5 of a big number than 75.
You said it. That's exactly the deal. You can't be greedy and hold on to everything. You're right. A piece of pie of a monstrous huge pie is a lot better than a whole pie that's very tiny. I mean, you're right. And I think that's awesome because a lot of entrepreneurs, anybody out there in some kind of business management sector, they get scared. Their ego kicks in. They don't even want to train the replacement. Everyone in our company has moved up in the company from the bottom up. All our directors in sales and production, they've literally had the stories of moving up 5, 6, 7 different spots. And we only like to grow within on purpose because we like to show the career path of them, of the value, and them believing and wanting to do things. But we teach them to empower and train people better than you so you can move up. Train people better than you. Get rid of ego. So I love that you have that story. I didn't know that part. Javon didn't talk about that part. He talked more about his personal story and how Scribe works and all of the successful authors you guys have helped. But it's really cool to hear the other side of that coin of, how you saw something and you knew, shit, in order to stay open, in order for these employees to survive in this, I've got to bring in a badass like this guy. And obviously there's no greed, there's no ego. It's about how do we get to the next spot? And you keep going.
Well, no, there was a lot of ego. I just had to fight it.
No, we all do. No, I get it. No, we do.
And it came down to a simple question, man. Like it all turned because I fought this for a while. And he even offered to be president and COO. Yeah. And God, thank God, I was like, no, this doesn't feel right to me. And then I asked myself a simple question. Why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. Am I doing it to make myself look good, or am I doing it for the mission of the company and everyone in it? And I'm like, if I'm doing it for myself, I should say CEO. If I'm doing it for the mission, then I need to step aside. And it was like, of course I'm doing this for the mission. Like if I was doing something for myself, I would go do something else. Right. Like only for myself, right? If it was just about me, I wouldn't even start a company. Like I would just keep being a writer because that's just about you.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, right? But as a profession, writing is basically completely self-absorption, right? But entrepreneurship cannot be because you have people who work for you and you are serving customers who define success for you. The whole point of business is the only businesses that succeed are those that meet the needs of other people in free markets, of course. Right. Like if government monopoly is a different thing. But the whole point of business is service. Otherwise, the business does not exist.
Right.
And it was like I had to. It was very hard for me 5 years ago to swallow that and accept that. Now it's like so obvious. I'm almost embarrassed that it wasn't this obvious to me earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, you're right. I think almost every entrepreneur struggles with this, and the ones that are able to make this leap become like you and do 3 companies and super successful, and it's just straight up from there.
Well, I can tell you, going into this third company, my ego was in full effect. I thought I knew it all.
Because you had 2 wins.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then getting into
Mhm.
uncomfortable waters. And I talk about it before in a couple of shows. You got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, and you got to play to win, and not win for yourself, but win for that brand. And if
Mhm.
everything's about winning for that brand, it's like you talked basketball. If you've got an issue with your leg or your wrist and you feel like you're the badass out there needs to do, but you physically can't, you got to put him in to make that shot. I can't do it. It's the same thing in running a company, and kind of what you did, and putting the company first. And that's, I love that, because that's what we do at Power Home. It's like, we're always about the brand, the integrity of the brand. I need to be replaceable. If somebody's not replaceable, you didn't build a great company. Everybody's got to be a cog in that wheel. Nobody can be bigger than the system or held hostage, and nobody's ego needs to get in the way. And I learned that on this third company, because we struggled the first 2 years, and I had to bring people on smarter than me that made me
Mhm.
better. That's it.
I mean, well, dude, that's why you're successful.
I think that's so
Clearly.
cool that
No,
you share that.
seriously, it's such a simple idea, but so many. Like, not to talk my own book, but this is not my book. It's called Who Not How.
Mhm.
We described this. Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy wrote a book about this exact thing. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Dude, you should, if you don't like reading, get the audio.
that's what I
It's like 4
started
hours.
doing. So I had a friend of mine a few months ago was like, so I won the Entrepreneur of the Year award last year, and they were, you got to write a book. Your story's great. Trailer park, no high school, no college, blah, blah, blah.
Just like Javon.
Yeah, very
No
similar, right?
college.
And
Yeah.
then going and building these businesses, and I got a lot of my skill sets from failures and learning from experience, not from education, and being passionate. And so I did this podcast thing. It took off, and then finally I was like, all right, I'm gonna Javon, Heather Monahan. That's who also referred me. That,
Yeah.
and I love her to death. And so that allowed me to really, all right, I'm going to do a book. And it almost felt like it's kind of egotistical to do a book. But then I tell myself, you know what? It's really not. If I've got something that can help one person who's got his back against the wall to stay open and employ more people, or one person that needs to provide for his family, then that's worth it. And I was like, all right, I'm ready. And so, and talking to people like you and Javon and Heather, and the people that have gone through your guys' company and your system, it's a breath of fresh air to say, wow, I don't have to go to college to write a book. And I started listening to a couple audiobooks. I've started a few, and I need to do more. I just get so swamped, and I have ADD to the max.
Why? Yeah, see, okay, you listen to what you're saying. Listen to your language. I need to. No, you don't. Most books are fucking slow and boring and are very poorly written.
I should,
honestly.
though. I feel like if I did,
Why?
I might learn some more shit, because I'm always wanting to learn.
Okay, that's cool. Wanting to learn is great. If you don't learn well from books or audiobooks, that's not a flaw in you. It's just your learning style, right? I mean, I'll tell you, my co-founder, Zach, is very similar to you in a lot of ways. You know what he does to learn about a field? He almost never reads books about it. He goes on to, the expert sites like Clarity FM, and there's sites like that where you can hire experts for like $10 an hour or $100 or $1,000 an hour to talk to the best experts in the field. So like when he wants to learn a field, he will literally go onto those sites. He'll spend a couple $1,000s over a month, and he'll talk to like 30 of the biggest experts in a field all across the spectrum. And so he'll invest 10 hours, let's say, right? Yep. And then now he's like rocketed ahead. Tell me all the things I have to know. Tell me what I should worry about. What are the mistakes beginners make? He has a whole list of questions. And then it's like, okay, now what books should I read?
Right.
So then if a book's come up 3-4 times, it's like, okay, this is a foundational piece here. And so like, he doesn't shame himself. Why don't I read 50 books? Look, I'm sitting in a library of books, and I'm not doing it because I think people are supposed to, or because I'm showing off. Reading works well for me.
Yeah.
But Javon's like you, man. He doesn't read. He listens to audiobooks.
Yeah.
Right? Or he listens to podcasts, or he talks to people. That is actually the natural way that humans learn. Reading's a weird... academics and elitists have succeeded in convincing people that if they don't learn through reading, they're stupid. That's wrong. And I'm telling you as a dude who's won the academic lottery. Like I have all the best degrees from the best schools in the country. I can tell you the whole thing's basically a fraud.
Yeah.
Basically.
That's well said, and I appreciate that. One of the shows I talk about insecurities, and early in my career, I struggled with some insecurities and lack of confidence of coaching and managing and training people with 2-year degrees, 4-year degrees, and I had none. And it was something that I eventually, over time, I had to say, enough's enough. This is my show. I've got to do it. It's irrelevant. And that skill set kicks in. It's kind of like the book thing at first, like, I don't know how to write a book. I'm a little intimidated to write a book. How do I write a book?
That's why I hire
Right.
up.
And your team has been phenomenal. I've got good project manager. I've got a good writer that they've given me that we've spent some time on the phone and been collaborating, and I'm sharing podcasts with her and giving her ideas. I want to, and something came up because I'm real and raw. Like I drop fuck all the time. I speak inappropriately. It's just who I am. I don't give a shit. And I said, look, if we're going to do this, it needs to be really authentic. And she wanted to put on the cover, hey, this might have some, explicit language. Like it might have some bad words. And I was like,
Right.
I don't think we should.
No.
She's like, well, why not? And I was like, I'll tell you why I don't think. If they don't like it after they open it, I think if they open it, it's not that bad. Then at least they had the opportunity to open it. But if we tell them no and they shy away from it early, we miss that opportunity because it might not be as bad for them. They might be so engaged they don't give a shit. Maybe it empowers them to go, oh, that, because the words used empowered certain things. So, but learning this whole book process gets exciting to me, because I love what I do, but I also love learning new things and talking to people like yourself or Javon or, a lot of the guests I've had on. I get to hear about their business and things that they've gone through to be where they're at. And, a few things that I've realized that all of us have in common is passion. We all have passion for what we do. You have passion for getting writers and authors out there and believing in your brand and your company's mission. And two, the most successful ones are the ones that realize it's still about that brand, not myself. And I think that's true strength and character that you've shared today on that part. So kudos to you, because not enough people talk about that. They just don't. They just want it to be their show, or they're too insecure to say, I can't do that part well. I know everything. Yep. I mean, I'm an open book, even to investors. I'm like, I didn't know what the fuck EBITDA was 2 years ago. Sorry, here's what you're getting. I promise I'm not the Beverly Hillbillies, dude. I know my shit and I know how to run my company, but I don't know what the fuck that is. And that's why I got that guy. And if I don't like that guy, I got this guy to help me make sure that guy's okay.
That's probably why the best people like that.
Yeah.
The best people like honesty and authenticity, because now I know what I'm dealing with, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't know what a beta is, cool. It's really easy to explain and you can learn it, right?
I know it now. I didn't.
But if I know
ago.
you don't know it, it's like, okay, great. The problem comes if you don't know it and you tell me you do.
Yes.
Then we have a problem.
Yes.
But with honesty and truth, there's almost never a problem.
So let me ask you this: a couple of the writers that you've put out there with books, you've wrote 9 books and you've had 4 in the New York Times. What tips would you give authors out there? What are some of the lessons and things that maybe I can even pick up to help better the book to make sure it gets out there forefront to be successful?
So the honest to God, I'm going to give you the tips and you're going to be like, yeah, this was the process. Like the tips are the process for Scribe. The number one problem, this is the first thing we start with in Scribe. And the number one thing that most authors get wrong is not understanding what they want the book to do for them.
Okay.
Right? Like what is your goal for this book? What is the thing that this book must do for you to be a success? And a lot of people reflexively say things like New York Times bestseller, 1 million copies, get on Oprah. Like they don't know how to measure a book.
Right.
So they just, well, what are the measures that writers talk about? Those are terrible measures for almost everybody, right? Because first off, they're completely unachievable or unrealistic, right? And even if you got them, they wouldn't help you, except out of ego. Oh, I'm a New York Times bestseller. Okay, great. But how many solar panels did you sell this month? Right? My guess is pretty much everyone in your universe doesn't really care if you have a best-selling book. They care if you can do your job. Right? And so understanding what the point of the book is for you first, you must be clear on that. And a lot of people come in and they're not honest with themselves. And so we have a whole process we got to get them through to get really real with themselves about what they want the book to do for them. Once you know what you want it to do for you, the next question is, who are you trying to reach? Like, who are you trying to get to, right? And if the answer is everybody, you're wrong. Not even the Bible's audience is everybody,
right?
Like, so there's a bunch of Buddhists and Muslims that aren't super into the Bible or whatever. So like, there's no book on earth whose audience is everybody. You got to get real clear. And the hard truth is, for almost every single person on earth, the audience for your book is a relatively small niche audience. That doesn't make you bad. It doesn't make you wrong. In fact, it's going to lead to your success because a small niche audience is easier to identify and much easier to serve.
Yeah.
If my goal is to help everyone in America, how the fuck do I do that?
Yeah.
Right? Like seriously, even cutting a check to everyone in America would not actually help.
No.
Everyone. It would help a lot of people, not everyone, right? And so I don't know how to serve everyone, but I do know how to serve smart business owners who want to write a book, right? And so I can focus on them, and I know exactly who they are. I know exactly where they're messing up, and I know exactly how to serve them, right? And so that's the thing: is who do you want to serve, right? First is what do you want? Who are you trying to serve? And then the third thing is what do you have to say that matters to those people? Not what do you want them to care about.
Yep.
What do you actually have to say? What knowledge is in your head that can help them create a transformation in their life? And if you can answer those three questions, you have a great, great book that is going to help you and help other people.
I love that because your team has done exactly that. They have put me in place and explained it verbatim the way you just did, which is phenomenal because I was the same way. Well, I think we want to get everybody and I said, I don't think it will be feasible because it's going to have bad words and some people won't understand this. So we slimmed down to who the audience was. And then, as you guys call the North Star, what's it going to be about?
Yep.
And like, it's been an awesome experience thus far. And I'm just hoping I can help some people. I don't anticipate being a top anything. The goal is to get it out there and help some folks.
Jayson, I can guarantee you that if you show up honestly and authentically in the book like you are in the podcast right now, your book is absolutely going to help people. There are people, I know so many. I grew up in Kentucky. Where did you grow up? North Carolina?
I grew up in Phoenix, then North Carolina, but mostly in North Carolina.
So you basically grew up in white trash areas.
Correct.
Because that's what Phoenix is. Okay. So did I.
Hey, I grew up in a trailer park in Charlotte. So same thing.
Yeah. Okay, right. So I didn't grow up in a trailer park, but I was pretty close, right? And so like borderline. And so I know exactly the type of person, if your book's going after that mindset, that I know those people. I did then and I still do. And those people, a lot of them aren't going to listen to me because even though I come from the same dirt they do, I don't look like it and I don't sound like it. And they don't believe me when I tell them that I am. You, on the other hand, come off just like their neighbor Roscoe, except you're super fucking rich and you've made it out. And so when you go in and say that, they're gonna be like, all right, yeah, this guy does feel like me. I do get him.
Yeah.
He is telling me the truth. And when he says X, I'm going to listen.
Good. Yeah. Dude, that's good advice. What about how did your business flourish through COVID? Did it affect the business at all? What did you guys do as a team to reunite?
Yeah, so it was, well, at the beginning in March, we had a full sales calendar for March. And in 3 days, it went to zero calls, like March 11th to the 14th or whatever. It was disastrous at first. Then once everyone kind of resettled and we realized, okay, the disease is not going to kill everyone, or if it might be bad, it might not. But it's like, okay, this is bad, but not as bad as we thought. April was a great month for us. May was our best month ever. June was better than May. July was better than June. August was the best month by far. September was a little bit below, but like around July level. We've been booming, just absolutely trending. We've hired 20 or 30 people this year.
That's great.
Like the back end of this year, because we've had so much work. It's been huge for us. It's been great. It was difficult to get our feet settled, but once we did, it was rocket ship.
It's looking at something and seizing an opportunity too. You didn't bottle up. We talked about going furlough. Instead, we took the owners off payroll for like 3 or 4 months and then made sure we had the cash flow to stay open. And we, just like you did, we had 7 consecutive record-breaking months and tremendous growth where we doubled in size, but we saw an opportunity there to not bag it in and to help people. And there was a lot of quality people out there that lost jobs. I'm sure that you guys got some A and B players that you didn't have before. It's the same thing for us. The pool got bigger fish in it all of a sudden to bring to our team and help our bench out and the starters out. So that's exciting stuff. And then as we're going into 2021, and going through the holidays, we're talking about Christmas parties. So something cool you did for your employees, I want to mention real quick before we wrap up. How was the Christmas event for you guys, and what did you do for your employees?
So we don't have Christmas parties, or we don't have any of those parties, anything like that. And the reason is, so our company has full profit share. Well, first up, take a step back. We have transparent financials.
That's awesome.
And when I say transparent, I mean like anyone in the company on their first day can look at our entire P&L.
That's awesome.
Top to bottom, and all salaries. Everything is transparent, right? And so like you can go as deep as you want. As long as you don't mess anything up, as long as it's read only, look at anything you want. And so we've decided as a group, we don't want to spend money on like employee morale type things like that, because we don't even call employees, we call tribe members. We all work together. We have a common goal. We're a tribe, right? And so we've decided we would rather take the money in profit share, right? And so 25% of the profit of the company comes off the top and goes to the non-equity owners. Only 3 equity owners, me, Javon, and my co-founder, Zach. So everyone else gets 25%. And then it's divided. There's an algorithm that's salary and time enroll. So nothing, all objective stuff, no subjective stuff. And everyone can see it. So you know exactly what everyone else is getting.
That's awesome.
And so like we don't even give out computers, like a lot of companies do, because our people have decided, no, give me the cash. I'm like, cool, we'll do that.
Yeah.
No problem. Like we're super happy either way. And so a lot of the normal employee morale things we don't do because our people at least don't want them. They would prefer to have a little bit more skin in the game and get the money.
Yeah. And you're empowering them to be like an owner. You're empowering them to be an entrepreneur. They're seeing the financials and they care about the bottom line. They're rowing the same way that you guys are, being the equity partners, which is so key to really build not only the morale, but the vision and everybody to have the same passion together and that culture. I think that's fantastic. That's why I think I was so attracted to your guys' company. Like, yeah, we're kind of like that. It's exciting stuff when your people can empower themselves to make big boy decisions and to feel like an owner, because really they're getting that's a game changer. And I think a lot of people need to understand that what you guys are doing is key. Now, you guys are still privately held?
Oh yeah, 100%. That will never change.
Never change.
I don't want a boss.
We talked about that earlier. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Well, yeah, and I don't know. I don't know. I want to do something similar for my employees, and we're going to get to that point. And I think I'm going to take the notes of what you just said and share it with the team of how can we do something like that. We had a pretty good holiday party and gave out a lot of cash to some folks, and that worked. And it was like, but it didn't help. But we had some people that are upset, and I'm good with if we were able to take some of that and diversify it through everybody. That might have been good too. So I do like that method as well. We just never really came up with the system to do that, but I do like that.
It's a different culture. Both of them work. They're just different. And the important thing is to be very clear up front what the culture is and then get buy-in. And not every culture is right for everybody. Like our culture is not right for like a boiler room, I eat what I kill mentality, right? And which is nothing wrong with that mentality. It fits in certain companies, doesn't fit in ours, right? Ours is very collaborative, we're all rowing the same way. Yeah. We're all in the same boat. We all win together, we lose together, like all that sort of positioning and that sort of emotional orientation not everyone has that, right? And so we signal that to people, to very clearly to the outside. So everyone we interview, we talk about this. And so that way, because no one wins if the wrong person comes in, like they don't win and we don't win. Right. And if you can totally change the culture of a company, it just has to be a very transparent and collaborative process. And you got to have a way. Okay, like there's 5% of people aren't going to like the new culture. They got to go. It's like, okay, cool. Then it's good. You guys can leave. And then no shame on them or whatever. Just, hey, things changed. Okay, we're going to need a different type of person. And most people will change and be like, oh yeah, this is cool, especially if they help create it, right? If you're like, hey, look, we're thinking about going to a profit share model. What do you guys think? Here's what we're thinking, right? Give them the frame. Here's 2 options. Do you like either of these or do you prefer the way it used to be? And the more you can tell us about why, the better. And let them kind of tell you what they think. Let them come up with ideas. Let them suggest changes. And then they'll have way more ownership. But then you got to go fully. You seem like the type that like whatever you are, you own it. Yeah. Then you got to go fully in. You don't go halfway. You fully become whatever culture you are.
Yeah. And it works. No, I love it. That's great advice, and I appreciate that. So, what? Last but not least, as we wrap up here, what book would you recommend that you wrote out there to the listeners that they can find going into 2021? Since we just got through a pandemic, what book do you have that might inspire them a little bit going into next year?
For this that I wrote, because what we were just talking about, I just had this book's not out. It's not out yet. I'll tell you what. Let's go with Scribe Method. This is a book I wrote about our process, right? How do you write a nonfiction book? But even better, like going off our earlier conversation, this is a 500-page book, right? It's a beast.
Yeah.
You can go to scribebookschool.com. It has the entire book in video course format for free.
Oh, wow.
So like if you want to write your own book and you have no idea where to start, that site has literally every single piece of our process, right? Like what you're going through, that's the process. It's there for free. The information's free. Obviously, you're paying for high level help and assistance, and like you don't have to spend much time on it. You don't have to learn the process. You're buying time and expertise from us, which is great. The information we always give away for free because I believe everyone on earth should write a book. And so we teach them how for free. So if we even give the book away for free on that site, like an ebook of it for free. So if anyone's listening to this, they're like, man, I've thought about writing a book. Start there.
Okay, great tips. Thank you, Tucker. I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your stories with us, talking about your company, Scribe Media. Is there anywhere they can follow you on social? You still blogging?
Yeah, tuckermax.com is my site. I mostly write about psychedelic therapy now. It's like kind of because that's what I've been the last 2 years, man. I've really dove into that, and it's mostly about that. But my social, I have an Instagram, I have a Twitter, I have all the normal stuff.
I'm going to make sure I get off here and follow you and hit you up, and I definitely want to be in touch. And thank you very much for coming on the show, sharing your story, also allowing me to be a part of the Scribe Media team to get the book done. I appreciate that.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you trusting us with your journey.
Bam! That's a wrap here on True Underdog. Thank you, guys. Bam! And that concludes another episode here on True Underdog. If you're interested in hearing more, make sure you subscribe at iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or the YouTube channel. You can always visit TrueUnderdog.com, subscribe to all of them. Make sure you check out our newest episodes coming out on Mondays and Thursdays. True Underdog, baby. Bam!